Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we will review how to cite legal documents. By the time you review this video, you should have reviewed the following. Number 1, your Learning Module 2, Appendix A or B, depending on your textbook edition. Number 2, your instructor's lesson notes. Number 3, your detailed How to Cite student packet. And number 4, you should have completed and submitted your assignment number 7. Now let's review the fundamentals of citation forms based on the rules in the Blue Book for the simplest and most common citations that were covered in your textbook. Let's start with the basics. I hope you understand that a citation is a reference to any written material. They give you the address or the GPS where you can go in a traditional library or online to locate and read whatever is cited. This is important. You must understand that you must give the correct GPS citation in order to locate the legal material. Okay, let's get started. I am sure you recall from your legal research course that the laws come from two sources: enacted law from the legislatures and case law from the courts. So how do you find the case law? Case law or opinions are collected and published in hardbound books called reporters. They're published online as well. We'll discuss that later. Now, concerning the reporters, there are two types of reporters. You have your official that are published by our government, and unofficial that is published by private companies like Westlaw and Lexis, who add these neat bells and whistles to make their products more sellable. I want to start with the U.S. Supreme Court. It has 3 reporters. Why 3? Because there is one official and there's 2 unofficial. The United States reports is the official. You can see an example in your text on page 41, 42, or 43, depending on your edition. Now, it has a syllabus, which is a summary, which is listed right before the case text. But that's all. Now you're going to have to remember the abbreviation, which is U.S. in all caps. Supreme Court Reporter, published by West. You can see an example in your text, probably on page 45. It has a summary or a syllabus. Then it has head notes identifying the particular points of law made in the opinion and given a key number that you can use to find other cases that stand for the same point of law. Now, these reporters are published quicker than our official reporters. The abbreviation that you must memorize is the uppercase S, period, uppercase C, lowercase t, period. United States Supreme Court Reporter, Lawyer's Edition, is published by Lexis. Example is more than likely in your text on page 49. Now, these do not have head notes, but they do contain references to encyclopedia topics covering the same points of law as covered in the case. The abbreviation you must memorize is the uppercase L, period, uppercase E, lowercase d, period. What about the state courts? Now, like the federal courts, you usually have an official reporter published by our state government and a privately published one. States all found in some part of the West Regional Reporter System. Do you understand how West established its regional reporter system? It's simple. Take a look at the map on page 63 in the text, and there should be a list on page 62. West took the 50 states and the District of Columbia and divided them into 7 regions. Published the reporters according to the regions. I have a question for you. Can you tell me which region Texas is a part of? Another thing about the state reporters, not all states have their own official reporter. So here's another question for you. Does Texas have its own state reporter? Now let's get down to the fun stuff. Let's discuss how we use this information to locate a case opinion. Remember, every case has an address, its GPS, where it can be found in the reporter. Remember, this is called a legal citation. So we need to know the case name, the volume number, the name of the reporter, the page number. And obviously, if there are 3 different reporters for the U.S. Supreme Court decisions, there are 3 different citations for each of these Supreme Court cases. So these additional citations are actually called parallel citations. Now, you read this in the textbook. So tell me, do we need to cite all 3 parallel citations for the U.S. Supreme Court decisions? I hope you said no, because once the official reporter, which is the U.S. reports, has finally appeared in print, you always refer to a case by its citation of address in the U.S. reports. Okay, now the common form. The core of a case citation consists of 6 elements. What are they? You have the name of the case, the abbreviation for the official reporter if required, the abbreviation from an unofficial reporter if it is required. You need to know the court. If its identity is not known clearly by the name of the official reporter, then you need to provide the date of the decision and maybe the subsequent history, if any. Let's take a look at the same example that is provided in your student citation packet. Now we're going to cover each of these points. New York Times Company versus Sullivan. What is number 1 highlighting? That's the case name. You want to cite only the first listed party on each side of the case. Most of the cases you read in the text are appellate level cases. Now, most of your trial court opinions, they're not going to be published. But again, these are appellate level cases. What are we looking for? Your case name, you need to either italicize it or underline it. Case titles are abbreviated versions of the full name of the case. Again, this is usually the last name of the first named plaintiff, followed by a space, the letter V standing for versus, and a period, then a space, then the last name of the first defendant, all underscored or italicized. Thus, if we had Robert Smith, who was suing John Doe and Jane Doe and Richard Roe, that would come out to be Smith versus Doe. Okay? Then you separate the case title from the reporter citations with a comma and a space. What follows is the volume number of the official reporter, if any. That's our number 2. Again, the reporter volume number. Number 3 is the reporter abbreviation. This reference is the name of the reporter set in which the case can be found. Now, please note that some of these sets, like the Southern Reporter, have additions or series. So you might have to see the 2nd or the 3rd series. And these series are going to be designated by 2D or 3D. Number 4 is a page number. Then this reference is going to be to the initial page number of the opinion. Number 5, pinpoint pages. Now, pinpoint sites direct the reader to specific pages within the opinion. So after the reporter citation, you're going to put a space, then the year of the decision in the parentheses. That brings us to number 6, which you're going to have the court and the year. Now, sometimes it's obvious from the name of the reporter that what court has made this decision. For example, if you see U.S., that stands for the United States Reporter. That again is the official reporter for our federal Supreme Court opinions. And the only type of cases that are reported in this set are going to be, again, your United States Supreme Court decisions. However, most sets contain cases from multiple jurisdictions, and one must include the court abbreviation to help the reader determine whether the case is going to be mandatory authority. Let me give you an example of Alabama. You see in the parentheses where you have the abbreviation for Alabama. When is abbreviated in an uppercase A, L lowercase, and an A lowercase period, that represents the highest court in Alabama, which is more likely the Alabama Supreme Court. The year, that informs the reader of how recent the decision is, which also can influence its weight as of legal authority. When you take a look at 7 and 8, that's providing you the subsequent history and the subsequent history citation. So after the date, there may be some, again, subsequent legal history. This explains what happened maybe to the case on appeal to a higher appellate court. In this case, the Sullivan case, this information shows us that it was appealed from the Alabama Supreme Court to United States Supreme Court. What happened there? The case was reversed. Now, there are additional technical and practical information of a case citation that we're not going to cover in this video. That information has been covered in your textbook as well as your lesson notes. You can also find this information in your student citation packet. So it is very important that you take the time to review this information. I want us to take a look again at the hierarchy of our courts. Now, we cover the basics for the Supreme Court cases and the state cases, but we also need to review a few other federal courts. How do we cite the decisions found in the Federal Reporter or the Federal Supplement? We're going to have to go back to legal research and review a few things here. I'm sure that you recall that there are 3 main federal reporters. You have the Federal Reporter itself, you have the Federal Supplement, and there also is the Federal Rules Decision. Let's review. Let's start down here in the federal trial courts. Do you recall the name of the federal trial courts? Yes, that is correct. It is the U.S. District Courts. There is something special about how these courts are divided up. Do you recall? That is correct. They're divided up by states and districts, hence the name district courts. So, how many U.S. district courts are there? No, I'm sorry. That is more than just 50. There are actually 94 U.S. district courts. Here's the bonus round. How many does Texas have? I'm not telling you. Why don't you email me your answer for extra credit? Here is the material that you must memorize. The U.S. Court of Appeals decisions are published in the Federal Supplement. Correction, the U.S. District Court opinions are published in the Federal Supplement. You have to remember this abbreviation. Uppercase F period, uppercase S, lowercase u, p, p period. And it also have series, so it can be Federal Supplement, the second edition. While citing to the Federal Supplement, you need to include the district and the state of the decision along with the date that the case was decided. All this information must be provided in the parentheses or the parenthetical. Don't worry, we will look at an example soon. We're moving on to the federal court chain of appellate hierarchy. What courts are next? Again, we was at the federal trial court. We need to move up. And I know I heard you say it. We're at the U.S. Court of Appeals. And because you're absolutely correct. There's something special about how these federal appeal courts are divided. Do you recall what it is? Yes, you're correct again. They're divided by circuits. How many circuits? Come on, I know you remember. Again, email me your answer for those extra credit points. Because here's another bonus round. Texas is a part of which circuit? Why is it important to know this information? Now, because when you're citing the U.S. Court of Appeals courts, you have to remember which circuit court to add to your legal citation to provide the proper GPS. And we're going to take a closer look when we review some of our examples. The U.S. Court of Appeal decisions are published in the Federal Reporter West, and it is abbreviated by F, that's uppercase. Rather than using volumes, they also use series. So you'll see the second series or the third series. Here's the $1 million question. How do we cite these cases in these reporters? First, let's work on our memorization. Remember, so the reporter citations are the federal reporters. You have the F, that's uppercase, period. Or you have the F period 2D for the second series. Or the F period 3D for the third series. We have the federal supplement. We're going to abbreviate it with the uppercase F period, uppercase S, lowercase u, p, p period. And we'll also have the federal rules decision. Simple abbreviations of uppercase F period, uppercase R period, uppercase D period. And we'll talk about that a little later. Then you got to think about the common form of these citations. The core of a case citation that consists of 5 case elements when we're talking about these federal reporters. You have to know the name of the case. You got to remember these reporter abbreviations. You have to provide the volume number, the page number, the date of the case. It may be some additional information like the name of the circuit court it appears in, or the district and the state. And all that information must be provided in the parentheses. To simplify the review, once again, let's take a look at the same example that is provided in your student citation packet. We're going to cover each of these points. Are you ready? Great, let's go. Harry versus Foster. Number 1, the case name. All right, place the name first, and it's underlined or italicized. Again, don't skip this step. It must be, again, underlined or italicized. It is part of writing a proper GPS legal citation. Then separate the case title from the reporter citation with a comma and a space. What follows is the volume number of the reporter. That's our number 2. We are already at number 3, the reporter abbreviation that you've already memorized. This reference is to the name of the reporter, set in which the case can be found. Again, you have the Federal Reporter. What was that abbreviation? Uppercase F period. For the Federal Supplement, you have the abbreviation of the uppercase F period, uppercase S, lowercase u, pp period. And for that Federal Rules Decision, the abbreviation, all uppercase F period, R period, D period. 4. That page number, this reference is to the initial page number where you will find the opinion. 5. The court and the year. This is the appropriate court and the date of this decision. We have to take a moment to look at the additional technical and practical information of a case citation. This will help you understand what information to add in the parentheses. The Federal Reporter, again, we're going to take a look at the information in the parentheses. There is no space between the numbered circuit and the first parentheses. Place your space between the numbered circuit and the abbreviation of the word circuit, which is going to be uppercase C, lowercase I, lowercase r, period. Then you add another space followed by the date the case was decided. Then you have a closing parentheses without space. Did you get all that? Again, grab your student citation packet and take another look at all the information we're covering. It's right there for you. We have only a few more things to cover. The rest is easy. How to cite Constitution, statutes, and similar material. Let's get started with Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is cited by identifying the name of the Constitution and the article or amendment, followed by the specific reference section. Now, your state constitutions, they follow this same format. It only has one basic principle and 2 elements when you're citing constitutions. Again, that's one basic principle and 2 elements. Let's see the example. Principle A, citation to a provision or either the federal or the state constitution, consists of just 2 elements. Element A, the name of the Constitution. The name consists of the abbreviation of the jurisdiction, like the U.S. for United States, NY for New York, and then what do you add? The abbreviation for Constitution. Element B, the cited part. Parts often include articles, okay, then use abbreviation for that, or amendments, the abbreviation for amendment, and clauses. There's abbreviation for clauses, and you also have sections, which you use a symbol for sections. Then there's no punctuation to separate the name of the Constitution from the first part identifier. You have a comma that separates successive subparts. If you have an article, an amendment, and clauses, and a section, you want to separate all those sections with, again, a comma. Nothing has to be italicized or underlined. No date is required unless the citation is to be a provision or version of the Constitution that's no longer in effect. So like I told you, it's easy. What about state statutes and federal statutes? We're just going to take a look at the most common form. As with cases, your statutes have official and unofficial publications. You want to always cite to the official version of your federal statutes, which is your U.S. Code. A federal statute is printed in 3 different codes, because remember, you have the official, which is the United States Code, abbreviation USC, all in uppercase. You have your unofficial, which is United States Annotated, USCA, all uppercase. These are published by West. And your United States Code Service, uppercase USCS, is published by Lexis. Its legal citation has one basic principle and 3 elements. To take a brief peek at an example. Principle 1, the core of a citation to a codified federal statutory provision consists of, again, 3 elements. Element A, the title, number followed by a space, and then your abbreviation. Again, we're going to cite to the official, USC, for the United States Code. Then you have element B, the section number preceded by the section symbol and space. Here's element C, which gives you an indication of the currency of our compilation relied upon in parentheses. So with print compilations, this has traditionally been simply the year, the volume or base volume, and updating supplement relied upon when it was published. Now, if we're talking about electronic compilations, they could be updated at least annually. This should, at a minimum, be the year of the compilation relied upon. So if there's any risk that the statutory provisions may be volatile and even more precise, current through date can be used if necessary. The precise form that takes will be governed by the form in which the compilation relied upon presents currency information. So again, you can be the date, if it's something more current, have been updated online, you can use that precise current through date if necessary. Now, there's no punctuation that separates these elements. Nothing is going to be italicized or underlined. What about if you're taking a look at the state statutes? Are they any different from the state statutes and the federal statutes? No. The state statutes follow the same process as the federal statutes. See, that's easy, right? I have another question for you. Do you know the name of our Texas statutes? I'm going to give you a hint. It begins with the letter V. They're also depicted by a certain color. Do you know what color? Once again, there are additional technical and practical information of statutes, citations that we will not cover in this video. That information has already been covered for you in the textbook, as well as, again, in your lesson notes and your student citation packet. So as I stated previously, it is very important that you take the time to review this information, because we are moving forward and we're going to how to cite electronic sources. This is super simple. Now, so long as you are able to furnish all the citation information, there is really no need to indicate whether you relied on any one of numerous online sources. So, again, so long as you're able to furnish all the citation information, there is no need to indicate whether you relied on any one of numerous online sources. So you may simply copy and paste. But please, 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 please be careful and verify your online sources. They need to be cited to the specific web page visit, last modified or last updated date, or maybe the last visited or SS date. Okay. Now that's it. Believe it or not, we have covered most of the common form of citations. At this point, I want you to take another look at your practice problems and go and take a look at the instructor's answer key. Take the time and compare your answers and review once again your student citation packet. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next chapter.